welcome to Good Game Spawn Point, the show for younger gamers by gamers. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex.
And I am Darren. And my space distortion coil is warming up for another information interdimensional jaunt.
Darren, the show's only just started. Where are you going?
Well, I've got my eye on a cozy little scientific research facility where they do experiments on humans.
Yeah, Darren, that sounds really cozy.
Affirmative. And I was thinking I might take Goose along for the ride in case they need another test subject.
Ah, good idea, Darren.
Yeah, take Goose. Well, coming up later on the show, we have a look at a brand new version of LittleBigPlanet for the Vita.
But first up, let's take a look at a porn.
There aren't many ways to get a fully fleshed out epic adventure on a smartphone or a tablet, but Horn is an ambitious game that takes us one step closer to that dream.
You play as a young blacksmith called Horn. He wakes up one morning suffering from one of the most common illnesses affecting video game characters, amnesia. Well, a small case of it anyway. He can't work out how he got to this strange place.
Where am I?
He soon meets a talkative stone golem called Gord and takes his head with him along for the journey, as you do. Horn learns that this is a cursed world where all the fleshy creatures have been turned into giant stone golems.
Yes, but by battling the rocky creatures, they fall apart and release all the villagers and the forest creatures that are trapped within.
Barjo, Hex, I have an issue with this concept. In rock form, the creatures are far more powerful. Why on earth would they ever want to go back to normal?
Well, Darren, it's because they're trapped in there. I mean, it'd be horrible to be trapped inside a hard, lifeless, inorganic shell. Oh, sorry, Darren.
Awkward. Well, anyway, this is a very good looking game for iOS. It's also a very big world with lots of gameplay time. Much of it does look similar, but the locations have some nice scenery and background to them.
Every time that sun glare shined through, I smile, Barjo.
While I do agree that it is a good-looking game, that fidelity comes at a price. Lag. Every now and then the game will chug, and it also eats away at your device's battery life.
Yeah, but it's a small price to pay. I mean, this is one of the best looking games we've played on a phone or a tablet, and the fights are exciting too. You'll encounter a variety of rocky enemies, each with their own attack patterns. Your basic strategy is to slash at the enemy to expose their weak point, and then hit that for massive damage.
This requires you to roll about avoiding attacks as enemies slash wildly and kick with their back legs. Every now and then they'll do a giant attack which allows you to jump to avoid it and slash on the way back down. And I wish there were more of those because I found the dodge to be a little bit unresponsive.
Affirmative. You can't dodge or cue a dodge until you finish your current sword swing, which means you'll often tap wildly trying to get out of the way. In my expert opinion, this game should have been more fluid.
Well, even so, it's exciting forging and crafting new weapons and trying them out on enemies. You also need to keep a good supply of potions and stun bombs or you won't last long, and this means lots of gem collecting.
Gems also act as a way to let you know where you have been before. They're strategically placed by the game's designers to help you avoid getting turned around.
Yeah, I got turned around a lot, Darren, especially because the combat makes you spin around in circles so much. But eventually you do get the hang of how the levels work, and there's even some simple puzzles to solve along the way.
Yes, but it's mostly lever pulling and shooting arrows through fire. It's a shame they weren't more complicated and challenging.
Yeah, and I get why they're so simple, though. It's the sort of game you'll pick up and play for a while and then put down. And I imagine if you were halfway through a complicated puzzle when you picked it up, it would be very difficult indeed.
One thing they do get right is the movement. You simply touch the ground to make Horn move forward. This can often be a bit fiddly in touchscreen games, but here they have the perfect balance of helping you and giving you control.
Yeah, I still got stuck on the odd thing here and there is a lot of camera adjustment, but yeah, I think they've done a good job with that. They've put a lot of work into this game, and I wanted to like it more because it looks so good, but that repetition just was too much for me in the end, so I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Well, I had a wonderful time with this, and there's a beautiful story to pull you along as well, so I'm giving it 8.5. Well, guys, I'll go with the news, shall I?
Okay.
So that game turned you around a lot, Barjo?
It does, yeah, it made me spin a lot.
Like a record?
What's a record?
Hex here from the Spawn Point news desk. Kane, 9-year-old internet sensation who created his own cardboard arcade, has inspired a new global charity. The Imagination Foundation encourages communities to host cardboard gatherings where children can play with each other's games. The charity aims to use the proceeds to fund additional creativity and entrepreneurship in kids. A Russian programmer has created the freeware project Pac-Man Portal, which combines elements from both iconic games. Equipped with a portal gun, Pac-Man can escape from ghosts by teleporting across the screen. An American couple have created an amazing Zelda-themed love letter to their daughter with this unique bedroom. The Zelda room was needed so their daughter's original Mario Brothers nursery could be freed up for their soon-to-arrive son. The parents of these lucky kids are the bloggers behind Dork on a Dime.
Hurry up. Right, I've really got to go. Goose will be waiting for me at the designated departure zone.
All right, Darren, you can go, but make sure you're back in time for the last review of the show.
Affirmative.
And make sure you bring Goose back this time.
Affirmative.
All right.
Off I go.
Pushy!
Okay, Darren, so I just sign here?
And here, and then here, initial here, date here. It's the 10th.
Oh, thank you. Okay, all done. Wait, Darren, what's all this bit about experiments and subjects may have a feeling of mild discomfort? Disintegration?
Never mind all that, Goose. It's just paperwork. Where we're off to, there's all sorts of wonderful things like scientific systems and precise procedures. Oh, did I mention you'll get cake at the end?
Oh, no, wait a minute, Darren. Cake, science lab. Oh, no, we're not going to the...
Hold on, Goose. Welcome, Goose, to Aperture Laboratories.
Ah, Darren, the old science lab's turned up in countless video games, and it's always the same thing. It's all a bit dull, really.
Indeed, Goose. So when Spawnlings first awoke in the Portal games as the science experiment, they quickly realized this was a very different type of laboratory.
The entire lab seems deserted. Other parts have become overgrown and are now lost to decay. You feel very alone, even when you're being guided by the bumbling ramblings of Wheatley.
You look good. Looking good, actually.
Or that creepy auto-tuned voice of GLaDOS.
Federal regulations require me to warn you that this next test chamber is looking pretty good.
Oh no, she has a wonderful, soothing robotic voice. Most of the time, there's no sense of direction or scale as you're led onwards through a series of test chambers with only the promise of freedom.
After a while, you start to feel a bit like a rat in a maze, one that's being watched from high up above as you scurry about, triggering switches, solving puzzles, all with the help of your trusty companion cube. Actually, Darren, that reminds me, don't you just...
Negative, we're not going there. Anyway, it soon becomes apparent that there's more to the Aperture Laboratories than first suspected. As the giant inner workings of this enormous laboratory come alive, what was once an eerily empty facility springs to life as a labyrinth of ever-changing rooms and moving wall panels.
During both our visits, the mystery behind the facility begins to slowly unravel. In fact, on an unexpected trip to the very bowels of Aperture, it's revealed that each new version has been built upon the foundations of the older labs, creating something of a living timeline as you struggle to climb out and escape.
Affirmative, Goose. This fascinating facility is without a doubt one of the most dastardly deceptive, yet downright entertaining science labs we've ever had the chance to experiment in. Now, how do we get out of this chamber, Goose?
I don't know. Maybe I'll move you over here.
And if I fire my portal here, and here...
Oh, no, wait, Darren! Darren!
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here. Huge success. Aperture Laboratories, a trusted friend in science.
Barjo, I wonder if we should advise Goose not to go on any more of Darren's trips.
I don't know, Hex. I think he looked like he was having a great time.
I don't know about that. Anyway, we should move on to some of these questions. We've got this one from Orange Mushroom, who's in I'm Right Next to You. In Victoria.
Wasn't there. Fixed.
Hey GGSP, I was wondering if there is an Animal Crossing 2 coming out on DS. Darren, please sing moves like Jagger. Hex, you are awesome, and Barjo, that Sonic costume is so you. Thanks, if you don't answer, I will become a noob. Whack.
Well, Orange Mushroom, sorry to say, but it doesn't seem that there will be a second Animal Crossing on the DS. At the very least, they haven't announced one.
But they have announced a new Animal Crossing for the 3DS. It's called Animal Crossing Jump Out, and it's set to come out early next year. Here's a quick look.
Can't see. But I really don't think we should encourage Darren to sing. He's totally gonna call. He's gonna call and start going on about it any moment now. Oh, he didn't.
That's weird. I mean, usually he would have called by now and then started singing because we told him not to.
I know.
And maybe he's not back yet.
I mean, let me just try again. I really don't think we should encourage Darren. There we go. Yo, Darren, what's up? Oh, it's not Darren. Yes, I would like to take a survey about cheese sandwiches. I am interested. Very interested.
No, Barjo, there's no time
I would give, well, the most important thing, yeah, I'll give that
Stop
a 6.
messing around with that now. We need to answer
I give
questions.
That texture's a good texture. I give that a, what are you doing, Hex? It's a cheese sandwich.
We have
cheese
questions
sandwich
to
king.
answer.
I have to answer all the questions about the survey, otherwise all these kids are going to get horrible
Cheese
sandwiches.
Sandwich King was not on the phone to
I'm sure
you.
it was the archery queen. You'd be like, oh yes, I'm just going to take this, and we'd have to
joke about the archery queen.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
She can hear you.
I'm sorry. I heard that.
We've got this one from Daniel in Calm Downs in Victoria.
You know how you revined The Simpsons Tapped Out last week? What can you get it on? Because I want to get it. Like PS, Xbox, PC. PS, Hex and Barjo are both as awesome as each other, and Darren is a massive noob! That's easy enough, Daniel. You can get Simpsons Tapped Out for iOS devices like iPhones and iPads, but it's also coming out for Android devices apparently at some point, but we don't really know when that's happening. Oh, it's a telephone, Hex. I wonder who this could be.
I wonder who it could be.
Hello, Barjo speaking.
Oh, hi, Barjo. It's Darren.
Oh, Darren, you're back. I'm so happy you're back. What can I do for you?
I've discovered a secret trick for The Simpsons Tapped Out that I thought the Spawnlings should know about.
Oh, a secret.
Darren's been helpful.
If you tap on Homer to open his task menu, and then you tap Homer 10 more times, you'll receive 10 free donuts, as well as the secret Jebediah Springfield statue.
Ooh, that tickle! And off, giant finger! Stop it! Who's doing this? Here, just take these, and don't even ask where I was keeping that statue.
Whoa, an Easter egg.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the tip, Darren. That's awesome.
Anytime. Now I've got the moves like Jagger. I've got the moves like Jagger.
Problem
Right.
solved. Why don't we just do that more often?
You know he has ways. He's called back on mobile phones.
He's already sending me
called
emails.
back on, yeah.
He sent me a picture.
He sent you a fax once, remember? Who sends faxes anymore? Anyway, let's move on to this one from Popeye in Lollipop Land, which is outside Australia, obviously.
It's just a picture of him singing. Hang on, there's audio to it.
I've got the moves like Jagger. I've got the moves like Jagger.
We didn't see that coming
Hang on, I
at
went like
all.
this.
Why did you even
Moves like
play that
Jagger.
video?
I've got
I go
the
like this,
moves
and then I
like
go...
Jagger.
Problem solved.
In Total War Shogun 2 Fall of the Samurai, can you give me some tips on how to win some battles? All 3 kinds, please. I can only win if I do a custom battle specifically so I can have lots of Gatling guns, etc. Are you also able to give me tips for my economy and building units? I'm a total noob at the game. P.S. I still have no idea why people call Darren a noob.
Sure, we can give you some tips, Popeye. In fact, we get quite a lot of questions about the Total War game, so let's go in depth with this. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Battles in Total War can often come down to simply who has the most troops, but we have some tactics that can help you beat armies twice your size.
Firstly, you want to make sure that you've got the right unit for the job. Just remember, everything breaks down into a loose scissor, paper, rock system. Cavalry will beat infantry with swords or guns, although spearmen will beat cavalry. Then swordsmen are good against any infantry, while your ranged units like cannon, riflemen, linesmen, and bowmen are good for anything at a distance but should be kept out of melee combat. So it's important that your armies have a good mix of units to them.
Indeed. As for formations, we like to have all our ranged units in the front with your melee units like spearmen and swordsmen right behind them, and cavalry right behind that. So when the enemy charges, you can have your melee units charge at them before they can hit your ranged units. Although if you have bowmen, you can just keep them safe behind your melee units since they can fire over friendly units.
And it's usually a good idea to have some spearmen on the flanks of your line, since the enemy AI is always fond of hitting you at the side with a cavalry charge. We also like to have some cavalry units near our flanks, and when most of the enemy has hit your lines, we send them out and around the enemy to hit them from behind.
It's also important to consider the terrain, especially if you're defending. If there's a hill or some high ground you can take, then take it. You get an advantage if you can hold it, and melee units fight better, and ranged units shoot further and more accurately.
One of the things you should always keep in mind in any battle is the morale of your troops and that of the enemy. If your troops feel surrounded or outnumbered, then they're going to break and run away pretty quickly.
Damn lily-livered cowards! Your men are running, sir!
So always try and make sure your troops hold a steady line, keep your army together as much as possible, and don't let the enemy break through.
Likewise, if you can get some cavalry to charge into the back of the enemy, you're going to shatter their confidence, so they'll break and run.
And speaking of shattering their confidence, one of the most powerful assets you can have in Fall of the Samurai is naval support. While you can't always have a navy nearby, if you can get a few ships within range of your battle, you can call in some really powerful bombardments. And if you time them right, you can absolutely decimate an army. Likewise, if you have a few cannons and artillery shelling the enemy, then that will really help to demoralize them.
But siege battles are a bit trickier. Typically, we like to have a lot of artillery if we're assaulting. You can sit back and bombard them and sometimes wipe out whole units with just a few well-placed shots, without putting any of your men at risk. But we find the computer is best at handling sieges. If the game says you're likely to win, then we just let it auto-resolve, and it will probably do it with far less casualties than we could manage.
And naval battles really do just come down to who has the biggest and best ships. We've tried to find clever strategies, but it always seems to come down to the commander with the most guns, and they'll win the day.
Yeah, as for tips on your economy, well, sometimes balancing your economy is harder than fighting the battles. The main thing is not to have too many military units at once, since they cost a lot in upkeep and will drain your income. And make sure you've got enough towns and cities with wealth-generating buildings like farms and mines, and get as many trade partners as you can find.
Phew. Well, that was an epic answer, but I think we still have time for one more quick question. So how about we go with this one from None of Your Business, from Wherever I Want to Be, in Tasmania.
Well, obviously they want to be in Tasmania.
Yeah, I want to be in Tasmania.
Why?
Well, it's just green and lovely, and they have those little bumblebees that I can't seem to find anywhere up here.
All right. I've asked this question so many times I lost the number past 1,000. Will you review Pokemon Black and White 2 when it comes out? It's supposed to come out the 11th October. Bye-bye! Well, none of your business. Yes, we will definitely be reviewing Pokemon Black and White 2.
Great. Well, I guess we're out of time for this week. As always, if you'd like to ask us a question, then go, here and send it in. Where did you go?
Just went to eat a sandwich. All that talk of
With
sandwiches.
the Sandwich King.
No.
Sandwich King.
Yeah, he's in Tasmania.
Wouldn't be even in the same room as the Archery Queen.
Yeah, no. Yep. Because the Archery Queen smells.
Stick it there and stick it there.
I'm doing it, Darren.
But more stickers.
Darren, it's covered in stickers.
More stickers. More stickers.
All right, guys, there'll be time for that later. We need to get on with the review.
More stickers. For those who don't know, Sackboy is the hero of the LittleBigPlanet series, which has become one of the defining franchises of this generation, harnessing the power of user-generated content, charming graphics, and inventive platforming to great effect.
Indeed, and Sackboy is back for his second portable adventure.
The puppeteer was once the greatest entertainer of them all.
This time he finds himself on the planetoid of Carnivalia, where the sinister puppeteer has been sucking joy out of the world, leaving all the inhabitants as soulless hollows. And of course, it's up to Sackboy to set things right.
We must stop him, or we will soon reach the end of the road. Oh, Genix! The end of the road! I was never really scared.
You'll venture through 5 different realms, each offering a unique design and its own delightfully eccentric character to guide you through their levels. And each level is full of score bubbles, as well as bubbles filled with goodies such as stickers and costumes, which you can use to customize levels, as well as your Sackboy.
Oh, I do love Sackboy dress-ups. Well, and you'll be using a whole bunch of fun tools to help you through the levels, such as your trusty grapple hook, touch-guided missiles, and the Grabinator.
Then, at the end of each level, you're scored based on how many of the goodies you've managed to collect, with a 100% completion rating requiring a no-death performance, as well as dedicated treasure hunting.
Yes, it's by no means a difficult game, but it is certainly challenging getting through an entire level, collecting all the goodies and not losing a single life.
Yeah, and there's often these little sticker puzzles where you have to put the right sticker on the right object to access some goodies, but often you don't find that sticker until you complete the level for the first time, so it's good incentive to go back and replay. Plus, the more goodies you get, the more goodies you'll have to build your own levels in the level editor.
Yeah, and you know, this is one of the few Vita games which is just perfect for the console, because you'll be tilting and scratching and pulling and doing all sorts of motion controls, and it just works, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, every level finds a new and creative way to make use of the Vita's unique functions. Normally a lot of motion control stuff feels a bit gimmicky in games, but here everything is just really cleverly used and adds to the already creative design. And some of those later levels require a fair bit of skill as you swap between platforming and touchscreen tapping.
Personally, I enjoyed the ability to take photos and put them directly into the levels as stickers. A vast improvement.
Well, the hallmark of the LittleBigPlanet series is co-op, and of course that returns. You can play online with friends. In fact, there are even some levels you can only play in co-op.
And there's also heaps of mini-games to unlock. Most are simple side missions that unlock by finding a hidden key in a level, but as you complete each realm within Carnavalia, you'll also unlock one of 5 arcade games.
And they're great little games too, and fully fleshed out with interesting ideas. And there's obvious nods to games like Doodle Jump and Bejeweled, but I think these mini-games are more interesting than most mini-game compilations.
And they're a great example of what can be created in the level editor. LittleBigPlanet has always been great for budding developers to create their own games with some really clever but easy to use tools. I recently heard that over 7 million games have been created by the community.
You know, Hex, if you played just one level every day, it would take you over 19,000 years to play 7 million levels.
Better get started.
But sadly, the Vita version does not allow you to play levels created in the other LittleBigPlanet games.
That is a shame, Darren, but having said that, it is much easier to create games using the touchscreen and the Vita controls than I found on the PS3. We're still terrible at it, but we're slightly less terrible at it on the Vita.
As you can see, the game looks as good on the Vita as it does on the PS3, and it's also got a really great soundtrack with some original music and some other great songs that just make you feel happy.
Well, Hex, we should wrap this up. Final thoughts?
Well, I loved it. None of the controls have been used in a gimmicky way. It's all just really thoughtful and clever. I mean, there's potentially hours of fun to be had here. I'm giving it 9.
Yes, without a doubt, it's one of the best Vita games so far. I'm giving it 8.5.
Barjo?
Yes, Darren?
More stickers. More stickers.
No, Darren. Hey, Darren, you want to put stickers all over my desk? I can't get them off. Put stickers all over my controllers. Now my controllers are sticky. Don't put stickers on your controllers. Well, next week on the show, we have a look at One Piece Pirate Warriors. Yarr, discovery bar.
Yar, I can't wait to clash cutlasses, yar.
Well, until then, gamers, Barjo out.
Hex out.
Darren out. Dar. I sail the seas with a cutlass in hand, battling noobs across the land.
Ho, 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 ho,